Well, welcome back to the channel, everyone. I really appreciate you stopping in to check out this episode of the Made by Hand Shop. If you're new here, I am Bobby Sharp. In today's video, I'm going to take an old kitchen cabinet that I picked up from a resident here in my neighborhood that was remodeling their house, and I was able to pick this up from them for free. One major thing about where this cabinet is going to go, I'm going to have to shorten it. So you see the area that this was an upper cabinet that was in the corner, and there was another cabinet that went along the right angle wall. So that part down there that you see that is not painted, I'm going to disassemble this and cut that off and make the cabinet shorter to fit in the area that I've chosen to place it. All right, so this is the area that I've chosen for this cabinet to reside. All of the paint that you see here is going to go inside of that cabinet. I'm going to pull it off of the ceiling a little bit so that I'll have storage on top of it. There's another shelf that I would like to actually get rid of and open up some wall space for my router table and things like that. I need to make a spot in my garage to get this toolbox out of here, so that will have to be temporarily moved until I can move it to the garage. Let's jump into tearing this cabinet apart and reducing it down to the size where it'll fit in this space. They had some brads that I guess was holding some trim on there. I'm going to pull those out first. They go all the way around, so. I don't know if you can see that or not, but this is actually angled. So I'm actually going to leave it that way. All right, I don't believe this thing was glued together, so that's good for me. It does have some shelf lining in it, and I had taken most of the shelf lining out, so I still have a few pieces to remove there. Let's see if this will come apart. Yeah, that's not going to be a problem at all. All right, face frame is off of there. All of these, I believe all the cabinets in our subdivision were built on site. This is actually a maple face frame here. And I'm not sure. It looks like they have toenailed in here. This is not pocket holes. So this is before the pocket hole jig was invented. So these are just butt glued and nailed, I would assume. All right, so there's the face frame, and they actually dadoed the shelves into the end pieces on both ends, even that angled piece. Let's see if the back will come off. This is stapled on the back. I don't want to damage any of this. I want to put it back together, so I don't, trying to do this kind of gingerly. Okay, so I have this cabinet flipped on where the face frame was, but I wanted to give you a little tip. These are staples that are holding the plywood backing in, and one of the things I did, if you have a wrecking bar like this, pry bar, one of the things I did was I cut some grooves, as you can see there, right here. All right, so why did I put those notches in the end of this? Is so that when you have a staple, you can slide that slot in there and hook that staple and pull it out. So here's another one here. And you can come at it in a different angle too. So It really helps pulling out the staples. I did break the plywood a little bit right here. Well, we did have a little bit of a casualty here. It looks like there was a knot and then it split on the pine. No big deal. I think I can glue this back together and repair that. There was a staple here and then probably one other one in the knot here. So another tip I'll give you when you're doing this is pull as many staples out as you can in this orientation. It's a lot easier instead of laying it on something flat and trying to hammer that out here in the middle where it's really hard to reach. So what I do is I pull it, I knock it off like this one. When you hammer on the board, the plywood, it pulls the staples out a little bit, and when they're out, I just go ahead and pull them out, and you know, it's just a lot easier to do that with it in this orientation than trying to do it later when it's laying down. So we have the entire back off of this now. It does have a board here that is the ledger so that you can hit the studs when you screw it to the wall. There's nothing else that's going to hold it up there. So all right, I'm going to pull all the staples that pulled through the plywood backing. I'm going to pull those out, and then we'll knock the ends off and release the shelving. And another tip I have for you is just put all of your throw your staples on the floor, or your nails, whatever it is, and then just look for them, sweep them up into a nice pile. You can use a magnet, something like that. It's just a lot faster to do this. Then you can take a whisk broom and a dustpan and get those up in a nice pile and throw them right in the garbage. All right, so demo continues on this. I'm going to take the ledger board off because it's kind of loose. I'm planning on gluing this back together, so it's going to be way stronger because there's going to be a lot of weight in here. Paint, those paint cans weigh a lot. So let's take that ledger off the back. So I'm using this part here to kind of pry up on it. I really need to be on the flat side. I'm trying to get right under the nails. Some of these, like that one, so it was about 5 that pulled through. These look to be like number 18 gauge brads or something. So they all pulled through the top piece, so no big deal. This piece of pine right here is pretty hard. The staples were really hard to get out of that. So all right, we got that. We'll have to deal with those nails later. You can see that now that the back is off, this thing is pretty rickety. So let's see if we can eliminate the top shelf, next shelf, this shelf, and then the ends. See how that goes. Here's the top shelf. There we go. That was just dadoed in there. No glue. My wife's going to see this and go, why did you do all of that? You just could have sawed it off on the end. But I don't do that kind of stuff, as you know. So we're going to make it better. We're going to sharpify it. So alrighty. Well, I'm going to pause here because I got a lot of nails to knock out. All right, I'm back with you for another tip. When a cabinet or something is put together with these brads, they actually have a T-shaped head. So if you put your piece, your hammer or whatever at this angle, it's going to just pull out like that. So you have to be at right angles of the T to grab that head. So you can see it's flat that way, and it has a T or shoulders this way. So no shoulders facing forward, back, left and right has the shoulders that your hammer or pry bar can grab onto. And then these are nailed at an angle, so I'm kind of, I gotta be on the board, but yet I'm grabbing that shoulder as well. So I don't know if you know this or not, but any kind of pneumatic nail gun, the nails have a layer of glue on them, and when they're shot in, the friction between the wood and the nail heats up the surface of the glue there, and that helps hold the nail in. That's why you hear these things break. They kind of make a noise when they pull loose. And of course, the ones that are just sticking through like this, it's just a matter of bumping those, and you should be able to just pull those out by hand on this side. If not, grab the shoulder, pull them out, that kind of stuff. You know, pine is inconsistent. Sometimes it's really soft, but then you get around these knots and just weird grain, and it gets pretty hard. And this cabinet was probably built in 94, 93 when the house was built. So it's, you know, pine gets hard as it ages. So some of this is a lot harder than it was when they first assembled this cabinet. All right, this is that piece of pine that broke off the back shelf. Look at the figure in that right there. That's crazy. But this nail broke, or the staple broke. That one I pulled out, but this one broke. So what do you do in this situation? Well, you're going to have to use a pair of channel locks. And if we want to get this out, so these are about wore out because I use them in situations like this a lot. So you have to get it on the nail or on the part of the staple, and you got to get it really tight, like that tight. And you take your bar and stick it underneath. I got it too low. This is how tight this is. You have to use a pair of channel locks to get it off. So I'm going to just raise this up a little bit and snap it back. Now I can get that underneath there, and see, all it did was broke the end off. See that little piece of metal? It just broke it right off. So sometimes you have to get it back on there. This is probably going to break. Nope, it pulled loose. So just like the channel locks, you can use this arch here to pull that off. So let's do the other half. It pulled loose, so it came right out. I do this quite a bit. Alrighty, I think what I'm gonna do is assemble the carcass and then do all the painting. That way all the pieces are supported. I don't have to flip them around. I can just paint the surfaces and flip it over, paint the other surfaces inside and out, walk away. Everything's good to go. So I've set up some squares here to hold the pieces, and then chalked the bottom up so it lines up. And I've got everything hopefully planned out that I need as far as parts and whatnot, and glue, and the nail gun set up, the air compressor's running and charged. So probably shoot a couple in here, a couple in there, put the next shelf on, shoot a couple nails, move up to the top. I think that's the best plan of action. These are 2-inch nails that are going in. It's not moving. I think I can go ahead and start painting on this. So it's a few days later. I just installed the ledger board. I'm going to let this dry, let the glue dry, and then we'll move on to installing the backs. All right, in that last clip I said I was going to put the back on. I'm not going to put the backs back on this cabinet, and I'll show you here in a minute. We're going to go ahead and put the face frame on, and then we'll get ready to install this. Alright, looks like we're going to do some squaring up. So I'm going to shoot, I want this face frame and the lower shelf to be even here on the inside. So I'm going to put a row of nails through here. Looks like I need to square it up and get the ends straight with the frame. And then put some more nails in it.
And then shoot bigger nails.
All right, so now I'm going to shoot some bigger nails in, and this will really hold it together. Well, I had one pop out right here, so I got to take care of that. Well, as you can see, I've got this wall cleared off. I've taken the shelves down, but I had a surprise. That's why I don't want to put the backs on this cabinet. We're actually going to utilize the depth of the studs for extra space inside the cabinet. And the shelves that were here, I wanted them to use those on the adjacent wall, which you see right here on the corner, this wall here, going towards the door, but they don't fit. The studs are different length, or different measurements between the studs, and I would just have to modify that. So I'm going to put these shelves back here once I get the cabinet mounted, and that will extend it to the wall. I can't use those anyway, so I might as well just recycle them. I put this up here and then mounted it, and to mark the studs and all that good stuff, and pre-drill holes in the stretcher. And I kind of looked at this and I said, I like that. So we're going to go that route with no back and open to the OSB that's on the outside. This one's up against this one. There we go. Well, that pulled up tight there, so. Okay. Well, now that I got this mounted, I just realized I might not be able to get these shelves. I need to put the shelf here and then the shelf here. They might not fit, so. Let's see. I think they'll go in this way. I might have to cut them off though. They might be too long. Yeah, I got to cut the corner off because of the angle of that cabinet. So, all right, so I just cut the corner off of this. All right, that worked out great.
So we can reach back in here. Now the drill is outside the cabinet.
Alrighty, I'll put this other shelf in, and then we'll load this back up with everything that was in here before, and some of the stuff that's on another shelf on the top. And this portion of this upcycle cabinet will be done. Well, there you have it. I've got this back on the wall. I got it loaded with everything. I've kind of gone through and tested some of the older spray cans and the stuff that didn't work. There's some old automotive primer and hardener and things like that that have dried up over the years, so that will be disposed of properly as well. The next step is going to be building a door here. I think I'm going to put double doors in the middle just to make it have symmetry. So this door will open this way, this door will open this way, and these two doors like this. Well, I appreciate you stopping in and checking out this episode of the Made by Hand Shop. Again, I'm Bobby Sharp. If you would, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And if you don't mind, check out some of the other videos here on my YouTube channel. Again, thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video.